Hi everybody, Carissa here with Inky Fairy Designs for the Blitzy team today, and we're going to be making this canvas using a Prima Bloom Girl stamp, some Prima Color Bloom sprays, and we're working on this artboard by Ampersand. It's a watercolor artboard. It's completely flat and kind of like a wood panel. We're going to be using this I don't even know how to pronounce it, Grumbosher Misket. It's liquid frisket, and what it does is it's a liquid mask, basically, liquid masking fluid, and I'm using it to cover part of my stamp, you'll see as we get to it, so that the color doesn't get all over the place. So I'll show you how that works here. I stamped my stamp with Sukaneko VersaFine Black Onyx ink. This is a waterproof ink. It is one of my favorite inks because it's all-purpose. It gives me such clear, crisp images. I can watercolor with it. I don't really have to heat set it. I probably went in a little bit too soon because there is some of the ink kind of running with the frisket, but it doesn't bother me one bit. That's what art is all about, working with kind of what happens in the process and learning from it. So I'm putting the frisket all over her face and her skin, and it dries really quickly. You want to wait until it is completely dry before you go to your next step. Use a paintbrush that you don't care to get messed up because it dries super fast, and you want to make sure you clean it with soap and water right away. And yeah, so that's pretty much all you need to know about the frisket. You saw me putting a layer of water on all over the artboard, and that's because it was a little tip in the artboard, and it's the aqua board, and it says for best results flush out the panel with water, so that just gets out all of the air bubbles from shipping and everything. So it kind of like primes it for you, and it'll get your watercolor medium moving a lot better. So once it was wet, I started spraying my bloom sprays, and I wanted it to be very I wanted splotches of color all over, like around the flowers on her head. And that's why I kept the frisket on her face, because I didn't want all those colors to muddy together on her. I just wanted them to be all kind of around her. And I used 4 colors. You can see right now I'm using Iris, and I put that kind of like on the bottom of her hair. No, not because I have purple hair or anything, but maybe. And then I used soft teal, and I used gold foil kind of around the eggs and nest in her hair, and then you'll see coming up, I use Storm Cloud. So I'm just spraying it. I hit it with a little bit of water sometimes to get it moving more, and then you see I'm using a straw to blow and move that color and that pigment around. That's a really fun technique when you're using watercolors, not just with the color bloom sprays, but with any type of watercolor. You can always, if it's really wet, you can take your straw and blow it and get some really cool texture and technique that way. So my panel is completely dry. You want to wait for it to be dry. So I did heat it with a heat gun just to speed that up. And the frisket just peels right up. So I just kind of start peeling at the top, and it'll just peel right up. I don't know, kind of like glue. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like gummy, and it kept her face completely wet. You can see how that just stayed completely clean, even though all of that color was moving all over that frisket. It's a really great masking fluid to use whenever you're working in a wet medium. So definitely check it out and try it out. So I really just wanted to create this whole panel with the bloom sprays. I haven't really played with them a lot. I've had them for a long time. They were one of those art supplies that I loved, and they just sat there and I hoarded them. So I really wanted to create this with all of the bloom sprays, and so I just added that storm cloud on her face, and I feel like she kind of looks like a statue, and I just thought it was so cool. So I had some Prima flowers. You saw I kind of took out some embellishments and laid it around on my panel. I wanted to give it some dimension because of it's just like all this watercolor, all this color sprays around it, and I wanted to provide some dimension on this canvas. So you see I'm just I added some bloom sprays to some Prima flowers that were white, so it ties the color in perfectly, matches it exactly to what I had used on the background. And I'm just laying out my flowers. I have my sentiment stamp down there, so I kind of know where I want that to be. I love this little wood veneer by Create Paper, and it's like that, like those embroidery hoops, which I'm obsessed with. So I had to add that on her hair as kind of like a focal point for that nest. And I just wanted to show you that you really want to shake up the bloom sprays when you are using them, because there's like a shimmer in them, and you want to really move that around and get that going. And I sprayed the little, I think it's like an enamel bird from Prima, and so I sprayed that, and I stamped my sentiment, and I messed up. I mean, I didn't mess up. I don't know. It's just, I think because the artboard is super textured, it just didn't stamp very well, and I kind of had a feeling that might happen, but it's okay. I'm going to fix it later, and I'm going to show you I had a couple of different ideas of what I wanted to do and how I ended up working with it anyway. So when I'm working with like laying out flowers and stuff, I'm not really good at this for some reason, like flowers and me and layering and all of that. I don't know. I have a hard time with it. So when I get something that I really like, I take a picture of it with my phone, and then I can set that next to what I'm working with, and I can have my guide. It like acts as a map for me so that I can put everything back exactly where I had it. So that's a really good tip. If you are doing something like this, or even like a scrapbook page, and you kind of lay it all out, and then you have to start gluing it down, and you move everything, and then you come back to it, and you're like, oh, where was everything? Snap a picture of it and put it next to you, and then you can put everything back exactly where you want it. And of course, you can always tweak it from there. So that's something that I like to do. I'm using Helmar 450 Quick Dry glue. I love this adhesive. It's really strong and fast drying, but you could use any type of liquid glue. I think liquid adhesives work best when I'm working on a canvas with some 3D embellishments like these flowers. You could also use a hot glue gun. I don't ever use the hot glue gun. I don't know. I just never have. I've always used like this liquid adhesive, and it works for me, so that's what I stick with. So I'm just going to finish adding these last few flowers, and then I will take some Helmar Scrap Dots, which is like it's a three-dimensional type of adhesive, and I use that to adhere the bird. Anyway, so I had some, anyway, so this is something that I tried to do to cover up my stamping mistake on my canvas. I saw this like scrap piece of paper. It was blue. It kind of matched, and I thought that would work. So I have that there, and I didn't glue it down. I'm just kind of still working this little focal point. So I grabbed these are Prima pearls, and it's like a floral kind of stem, and I just thought, you know, this stamp is called Mother. She's one of my absolute favorite Bloom Girl stamps. This is the first time I've used her, but I've loved her since she came out. I have a couple other ideas that I want to use her, and I mean, what mother doesn't need a tiara or some type of bling? And so that's kind of why I put that there around that nest. And this is the scrap dots that I was telling you about, and it just gives you that dimension and this super strong hold for heavy embellishments like that bird. So now I'm taking a look at it, and I'm like, do I like this? I don't know if I like that paper. It's not an exact match to the blue green, so I'm just looking at it. I took a gel pen and highlighted the words because it still didn't stamp as clear as I wanted it to, and I think that's just the nature of the stamp. That's the style. It's not anything wrong with it. I just wanted to be able to really read that sentiment. So I liked how it looked with the gel pen, and so I decided I'm just going to take my gel pen directly to the canvas, and I'm going to go over each of the letters, and that's how I brought it out. That's how I fixed that element on my canvas. So, you know, you can see I'll use my hand. You can see all that white on my hand. If it gets kind of clogged, or the mist is kind of shiny, and so kind of just I don't know, it works, but I had to kind of use my fingers to kind of rub that off and keep writing. But if you make mistakes, like on anything that you're working on, you can always work with it. Like, there was no way that I was scrapping that whole canvas just because my sentiment didn't stamp right. I had actually had another canvas going before this one, and I did have to scrap it for various reasons. And I was like, I am not scrapping. That wasn't a huge thing. The other one that happened, it was a big craft fail, but this was not a huge thing. So you can see it worked out really nicely, and I was able to, you know, redeem that sentiment. And I love this canvas. So here's some close-ups. You can see how beautiful that color bloom just shimmers, and these are my favorite colors, teal and purple. I hope you enjoyed this process video and got some tips. All the supplies are going to be on the Blitzy blog at blitzy.com, and for more inspiration, definitely check us out on Facebook and our inspiration page on blitzy.com, and I'll catch you next time.